have to understand that we're brought up, possibly most of us, in Britain, in the English tradition, and the Chinese are obviously a Chinese tradition. These are two very old empires with great depth. The American is not quite the same. Even the French is not quite the same, but the British, because of the influx of so many different cultures and the way that their culture has been, this culture in Britain has been preserved and developed. It's the same in China, many, many influxes, and they have great depth. And once these two come merging together, you get this wonderful kind of frisson, which is translation. That's what I'm interested in, from Chinese to English. And you have to somehow delve right into the Chinese way of life to make a good translation. That's why I was very lucky to meet Gia-fu, as I said, brought up half in China, half in America. Just to explain the structure of the book, there's about 40 chapters. There's a little introductory section, then there's the actual old text, which is 142 AD, dated to, and then I put the Chinese commentaries in. I thought it's most important in all my work to translate from the Chinese commentaries, and this is important because if you don't go to the Chinese commentaries, you just read the old text and you can make up your own ideas. You really have to go through the Chinese commentaries, and I've done that, which I think is an asset of this work. So the Chinese commentaries make up probably 7/8 of the whole book. I'll have to read you this little bit by Master Shang Yang. He was the teacher of an important sect in 13th century China, a celibate sect, they're very, very strict. In general, this single chapter combines the ear, the eye, and the mouth together as one in the binding up of their sharp practices. But in mentioning this process, the chapter does not discuss or divulge any arcane secrets of these most praiseworthy heavenly jewels. For instance, the nature of man in the world is always good, but as he grows up, if he does not rely on the aid of the sages, he finds himself suddenly alone, and rare indeed is the man who can preserve himself in this situation. Loud-speaking friends and wild-thinking companions entice him from without. Bright sounds and colours, sensations and desires seduce him within. Each and every part of his body becomes an open door through which passions and pleasures may run riot. Daily he makes use of them. Nightly he is active, and everything becomes plunder and turmoil. I've done my best to translate the Chinese. The Chinese full of very evocative, expressive characters there. At the beginning of the book, I put, to the new preface, I put this section because I think it encapsulates really what this granddaddy of all Qigong texts is about. I call it the granddaddy of all Qigong texts. Because the point of the book is to encourage you to practice your Qigong or practice Tai Chi, because it's through your internal work on cultivating quiet, cultivating stillness, cultivating peace, that you will perhaps find that little doorway to open up, or it might just open its own accord, into the other realms, higher realms or spiritual realms. The passage goes, "Nourish yourself thus within, tranquil and still in the void, while at source concealing the brilliance which illuminates up your whole body. Shut and close up the mouth, repressing within the spiritual trunk, the senses all swallowed up, to gently support that pearl so young. Observe it there, the unobvious so close by and easy to seek." This really is a peak of world literature. Why? Because it's, as I said, it's written in very strict 5-character and 4-character stanzas, and it uses a wide breadth of vocabulary, not simple characters, and it's a bit like coming upon an extremely ornate piece of brocade material insewn with lots of fine bits of silk and ribbons and small precious jewels, just like people used to make. And you spread it out and you're just dazzled by its brilliance. But what you've got embedded in here is imagery and little bits of philosophy and nuggets of sayings that have passed down through the generations. And they're all tangled up together, and people have slipped in a bit here because that's their favourite bit, and someone's copied it out and slipped a little bit more in. The appendix, which is only about 10 pages, obviously had been bolted on later by someone else who thought it should go in there as well. So I've always said to people who read the book that they ought to look at it a bit like a box of chocolates, really. So you think, oh, I think I'll just have that one. Oh, I'll just have that one. So you go and you pick a few paragraphs here, you pick a paragraph here, and you take it and mull it over in your mind, and then it'll make some sense. One of the parts I really did enjoy reading in the Chinese, and then really made me wanted to translate this book, was it described sensations and feelings I'd had as I started my Tai Chi or Qigong practice. Senses of comfortability and almost semi-ecstasy in the body as one felt the blood move, as he felt the qi move, as the expression of the breath slowly softening within. And then you found it described in the Chinese literature, and they talk about through your practice, your Qigong practice, the body becomes transformed. In the book, they actually say your teeth will grow again, your hair will turn dark again, all the wrinkles will disappear from your face, and you'll become young. I haven't quite seen anybody that's happened to, but I can believe it. This is a section which describes it. Your face becomes soaked through and shining, the bones and tendons gaining firmness, discharged of the many evil toxins, then to set up a true healthy strength. Practice this cultivation without interruption, and a mass of energy forms like clouds and showers. Overflowing feelings come like the spring rains, trickling juices like melting ice. They flow through you from head to toe, finally rising up back above, coming and going, reaching into nothingness, disturbing and stirring all throughout. To turn back is to know the truth of the path. That's an old Chinese saying. To know weakness is to handle its power. I mean, you ought to have that written up in your room. To turn back is to know the truth of the path, and to handle weakness is to handle its power. And one of the main tenets in Taoism, of course, which is the underlying religion of all alchemical practice in China, is the cultivation of weakness. You have to think about that one. Not the cultivation of strength, because it's through the weakness that you can get strength. But strength can only be broken. If you work hard at the book and read the passages you can understand, leave the passages you don't understand, because they will take time to sink in. None of this can be understood in a single night. That you may be guided to follow up your own practice, whatever it is, of Qigong or Tai Chi. And through that brought to a greater understanding of the internal quiet and grandeur which is our innermost being, our birthright as humans on this world.